Thank you very much for joining the webinar, 7 technological breakthroughs that will help you generate new value from spend data. My name is Hugh Cox from Rosslyn Analytics. I'm the Chief Data Officer, and I'm here today with Georgina Lindsey, who's the Product Manager. What I will do now is take you through a few slides to go through the list of items, and really what I want to do is to present the company to you and then take you through a demo of the cloud platform and show you some of those 7 technological breakthroughs. Questions will be at the end of this presentation as we go into the demo, and then we'd like to make it interactive and have some feedback as we go on. Right, so a little bit about us initially, then about the company, then running through the sequence of events and demo and discussion as mentioned. As I said, I'm Hugh Cox, and accompanied by Georgina Lindsey. I've been with the company since its debut. I'm a co-founder, and I'm now Chief Data Officer. I've had many roles in my time, and this is by far the most challenging that I've had, as my job is fundamentally to understand all the data requirements for all the projects that we undertake, and also liaise with partners and senior contacts within the clients to ensure that any opportunities within the data are fully understood. And I'll let Georgina introduce herself.
So I'm Georgina Lindsey. I've been with Rosslyn Analytics for just about 18 months now. Joined on the product side. I work very closely day to day with the development team, and also spend a lot of time with our customers and help them help us plan the product roadmap and how we're going to develop the products going forward.
So about our company. We IPO'd last year on AIM in London. Our headquarters are in London, with US offices, as you can see, in Buffalo and Denver and Chicago. We have a patent pending and 1 application, and over 100 customers and partners. Really, what do we do, and why are we positioned in this unique ability or space to be able to deliver our clients meaningful analytics? What we're looking at really is a platform where how would you say, the data can be placed into the cloud and can be analyzed and made ready in data preparation. We integrate, cleanse, and enrich information, and we inform our clients with the ability, we provide them with insights based on the information that we derive. Our clients, just to give you an idea of who our clients are and who the partners are. You can see here a list of clients that we have. They're across global clients. They're across a multitude of different sectors. So we're not vertical specific. We're quite generic in the way we approach data. And as you know, data is quite agnostic as well as to the vertical it's in. It's a challenge for all of us in many of its different forms. We have several, shall we say, global players with multiple ERP systems. And we also have some clients with a single ERP system, whereby they can, shall we say, manage their data in a slightly different way, or they have a slightly different level of complexity. Now, on our partners, we have several different types of partners: some global partners, some technology partners, some data partners that we work with. Also, you can see there's Xerox both in our partners and in our clients. The reason for that really is that our clients, so the Xerox uses our technology both internally but also for its own clients, and that's a trend which we're looking to grow within our ecosystem of partners. So how do we position ourselves, and why have those clients decided to use Rosslyn for their data analytics? What's happened is that we are just, switching screen here while this happens, as my computer was, not feeling too good. So where are we? In a sense, we are covering 5 areas, which Gartner, as you can see here, have described within their quadrants. Now, these are fundamental. we are not competing against a single group of people within one quadrant. We are covering a multitude of different competitors across different quadrants, and that is the uniqueness of our offering. We gather data, extract from multiple sources of complexity, ERPs such as SAP, Oracle, JD, PeopleSoft, and many others, as well as the usual Excel and other sources you wish to consider. We also then review that data, analyze it, and run it against the data quality tools, which, shall we say, give us an understanding of the issues we're about to face when we start integrating that data and start analyzing that data to begin the process of providing insights. So if the quality is incredibly poor, or if the quality is incredibly rich, we can straight away appreciate the task ahead to get the client exactly what they're looking for. And that's fundamental. If you ignore that step and you simply load data straight from integration into a visualization tool, as many of the visualization tools are predisposed to do, you simply get exciting pie charts and scatter graphs of data which you know to be fundamentally flawed, but it looks pretty. By getting a data quality stage in place and by understanding the levels and the thresholds for data acceptance, you can genuinely impact the outcome, and you can ensure that the quality of the data you're looking at and that you're going to be using for analysis is what we call analytics ready, or the data preparation has been complete. We then look into the database management systems and how we shall we say manage that data, understand the data, what tools and aspects can we derive from that data, what functionality exists within our database management. And again, that's really an area we spent a lot of time developing technology to seamlessly allow the data that's been extracted and integrated into the database to then move straight on to the business intelligence angle, which is, okay, how much more information can we gather, how can we associate information, how can we make the 10 data points go to 100 data points, how can we, shall we say, deliver added value, meaningful insights, intelligence, etc. All those words that we use trying to say value. In a sense, what we're trying to deliver, we're gathering client data to deliver value. The client is going to have a commercial arrangement with us in order to deliver additional value than he currently has today with his data. Then the advanced analytics, and those are all there, and those are various tools, which we either have some in-house and we leverage from external people. So unusually, we cut across those 5 Gartner quadrants. We are not in a single one, and that is sometimes why it's difficult when someone says, who's a direct competitor? I've often got to ask, well, in which area are you talking about? And that sometimes confuses the issue. But what I'm trying to kind of explain to you here, there's a cloud solution, a cloud platform, which incorporates those 5 dynamics. So just moving on to the next slide, the reason why this is quite convoluted and quite complex, and why it's not to everybody's ability to do this, the integration step, there are many companies doing integration, and we know them, Talent, Informatica, Boomi, and various other connectors who do data extraction and integration. That is the first step we do, and I'll take you through a demonstration of a SAP extraction and integration tool a little bit later on during the demos. That particular space is absolutely critical, and as I mentioned earlier, as Chief Data Officer, that is the area I spend quite a bit of time understanding and ensuring we do correctly. If that step is overlooked or shortcuts are taken, that just will not work. You will then end up, the whole rest of the exercise is a complete waste of our time. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting this step correct, ensuring the data you're extracting is correct, accurate, but also, more importantly, relates to the objective that's currently being set. There are many, many exercises we've seen and taken over from where the objective was not linked to the extraction. The people doing the extraction assumed they understood what the objective was and ended up missing the mark by quite a long way by not having the data in the first place. Once you've done this data extraction integration, you can then look at cleansing. Now, cleansing is really, as I said earlier, it's a little bit like going to your GP and getting an overview of, okay, what state am I in? How good is my data? What genuinely can I expect to get out of this data of this quality? And also, more importantly, what can I do for the next stage, which is enrichment? How much of this data is capable of being enriched? And therefore, how many insights or how much value, as I mentioned earlier, will I be getting out of this exercise? And it's only when you go through these 3 levels that you can really understand and appreciate the potential for this exercise. So getting the data, integrating it, cleansing it, enriching it, gives you that first fundamental critical process, which allows you to then start considering, am I going to meet my objective or not? Now, the platform itself, in a sense, we've got the traditional model, which many of our clients, shall we say, are embedded with as we come across them. They have the transactional systems and other sources of information. As I mentioned, an ETL process that goes along. The data warehouse goes to data mart, goes to Excel, goes to visualization, and then the business user sees the data and reports back on it. What we're trying to do is to, in a sense, I suppose, simplify that process by taking the ERPs and by being the data warehouse in the cloud, by taking that whole data warehouse to visualization step into one step. So the data comes to us, we will then deliver you the visualization, the slice and dicing, the data mining, etc., straight away to the business user and the business analyst equally. So that integration of all those different steps into one is really the cleverness of the platform that we have, and we call that on demand. To try and graphically illustrate what it is we do, you can see below the line, below the grey line, the data. You can see on the left-hand side, semi-structured, big data, whatever people wish to call it. There's a lot of debate about the value of the words such as big data. And we can discuss that when questions are open about how do you measure big data and what does anybody mean by big data. And really on the right there you can see the data we normally use, all of us every day, to do our analytics, which is basically our transactional, our proprietary, the enrichment using Equifax, Pitney Bowes, DNB, BVD, whatever it may be, whichever source you may wish to be considering adding information to or data points to your data. Public data, news items or social media, whatever, trends, sentiment analysis. A very important one, which we have developed in-house and is a critical part of our platform, is an application called InTouch, which allows the surveying, querying, scorecarding of stakeholder sentiment or views on information. So, for example, if I'm looking to do some sort of survey across my stakeholders, be they my customers, my suppliers, or my employees, about certain aspects of my transactional data, my operational information, I can then integrate that dynamically and immediately into the underlying data in the data warehouse. So that's been a key solution that we brought to bear. And I think in this case, I think supplier performance management, supplier relationship management, RFIs, RFQs, scorecarding, surveys, all those things can be developed through the engine of InTouch and thrown out into the Rapid platform. So taking the data and going from left to right, the data gets pumped out of the various sources. It then in the middle there, on that funnel in the middle, goes into a data warehouse in the cloud where the business logic, the known logic, the rules which our clients understand are to be used to make their data make sense are then established, and we then carry out the integration of that data from its multiple sources. We then run through an exercise of cleansing, and the cleansed data itself is then reaches a point where enrichment becomes feasible and valuable. Now, what would normally happen at that point, after enrichment, you'd go straight to reporting. What we've done, we've created this additional feedback mechanism, you can see there, called Rocket Fuel, which is where the data as it is enriched is then shown to data scientists and to the business user, and the data is then played back. So in other words, what's happening is that live dynamically, and I'll show you that in the demo again, rules can be created so that users can understand the data and generate, codify, I suppose, knowledge which they currently possess. So what I'm saying is you suddenly see something that you know to be fundamentally wrong, but for whatever reason it's always been that way in the system. You've got the choice of either going back to the source system or source systems, trying to them change the way they do things, and then maybe on the next refresh you'll get the answer you want. Or you can actually apply a rule that'll go back across all the data historically, change that data dynamically, and you get your response immediately. You get your improved visibility, improved intelligence of the data immediately available to you. So the way we're doing that is that by allowing certain individuals to what we call tag data, create rules, create explicit rules, we're enriching the data not only from a point of association with third-party data, but also with the intelligence of the community, the experts. In this case, we're talking about spend data to data, we're looking at category managers, we're looking at procurement experts, but it could be anybody, risk, compliance, finance, any party who has knowledge of the data can then very easily influence that data and prepare it for reports. Many of our clients have thousands, if not tens of thousands of rules they've built up over years to enhance and increase the quality and value of their data by adding their own knowledge and intelligence into it. And that is a very, very important part of our platform. It's one of our key differentiators. What does the platform look like? Very 10,000 feet. You've got the data coming in on the left. You've then got it residing in various repositories at the bottom. Again, we're totally agnostic. We don't mind what type of repository or data container is most suited to your particular requirements. We will simply provide that for you and make sure that the data is contained therein. We also use a series of other tools to enhance and improve the efficiency and the optimization of the data. The key area is boxed in red. This is where the data transforms. The data becomes live, the value is imbued into the data. And what I mean by that, this is where the data not only gets mapped and enriched and enhanced into its final form, but also can incorporate the human-driven machine learning, which is what InTouch is all about and what the rule tagging is all about. It's getting the human intelligence to add to the underlying transactional data. At the top then, you also get the ability to visualize. You can export the data to all the means you'd expect. You can visualize it. We, as I said, have a partnership with ClickView, and we can do that data, slice and dice it using their quite useful tools for data discovery, both in ClickView and we're currently looking at ClickSense. And then they can go to various devices for viewing. And not forgetting on the right-hand side, the interaction with third-party data that can be brought in at any time. And we're talking about maps, geolocational views, risk profiles, geopolitical risk, DNB data, risk, credit scores. It doesn't, the whole purpose of this is to give our clients a platform of extracted data which can then be added to by many third parties to be viewed with the latest tools, visualization technologies. So we're taking, I think, a lot of the burden out of the current processes often existing within organizations. Security. I won't go into all the acronyms here, but rest assured that security is fairly much top of our list of priorities when looking at the underlying data. We fully realize that we do need to continually test ourselves, prove ourselves, both with internal and external testing. Our clients often test us, and we always also have been doing that ourselves for quite a while, using some very sophisticated partners to ensure that we remain at the top of our game and never take security for granted, because we realize that our clients don't. What I'm going to talk to you now, and what I'm going to demo, is the automatic extraction of data combined with extraction from an SAP database, which I will go to. We'll show you some cleansing, auto-population, data enrichment, which is the tagging and contextual information, also parent-child relationships. We'll show you classification, dynamic classification and workflow process through tagging. I think Georgina will show you interactive reporting and search to identify potential savings opportunities by category. So that just gives you a view, and I think we'll now go back to my screen. Let me see. So I'm just going to show you my extraction technologies, which I think you can now see. Now, safety first, as you can imagine. I ran one in the background earlier just to make sure that all was well. But what I want to do is to show you this. Now, this is a live demonstration of extracting data from an SAP environment. I realize that you may not be able to see my whole screen, so I'm just trying to make it more. No, that's not really worked. So let me just try and make that larger for you. Okay. Okay, I'll take you through this. So what we have here is a front end which you can hopefully appreciate, allows you to enter your data as a SAP user, SAP GUI user. So anybody with SAP GUI can actually enter their data. The data will be collected from a database currently live in Germany, and I will just run that for you now. And as you can see, I'm now collecting data based on posting keys, and you can see that being listed here above. And you can see the data now being populated below, and you can see the number of records being gathered now automatically based on certain posting keys. And in this case, we've done posting key 2122, and yeah, and that's just running through at the moment, and you'll be able to see information being built on this, and then I'm just showing you this information here. So I'm seeing the screen now. I hope you can all see what I'm seeing. Let me see. Well, what I've got in front of me is a screen with information being gathered. I've got 20,000 rows, 30,000 rows being extracted, and I've got. I'm just trying to share my screen with you, so. You can all see my screen now. So we seem to have a slight, the GoToWebinar seems to be playing tricks on us. Right, we seem to have a problem with my screen. It's probably just my laptop not playing ball. So what we'll do, we'll move on to the next one. But what I will be able to send you or show you is the full extraction of SAP data, dynamic, from any SAP primary database using our platform. It's just the webinar is not functioning as it should. So what I'll do now is I will be logging in to the application to show you the next stage, which is the cleansing and enrichment of data, which we'll be doing now. So we're just logging into the platform now. Okay, fine. So I'm just going to be made presenter, so I think you'll see our platform now. Share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about all those. The view problem. It's probably my machine is not feeding up to it at the moment. So what I want to do is to really take you through. This is the platform. So the platform contains a multitude of icons, multitude of applications, and what we've done. I just want to take you through some of the cleansing and auto-populating for supplier addresses. So one of the main areas we have is, for example, the company enrichment application, which allows us to analyze various company components. Basically, it's a name and address cleanser, as you'd imagine. I store multitude of names and addresses, and I'm able to then view information and see, for example, is the address good enough? Do I have geolocation? Do I have information from my third party, in this case is DNB? And can I then understand the level of quality? And so we've taken a very generic sample of names and addresses. And what I want to show you here, and I'll just probably zoom in a little here so we can see a little bit better, is really, I've got a user here, for example, Merrill Lynch. So this is just Merrill Lynch. I've been given a name, one of many, and as you can see, I've got 5,000 entries here. But Merrill Lynch, I've been given this address. I know it's misspelled anyway. The first T is misspelled. I've been given New York and US. Now that's quite normal. We often get address data that is fairly poor, and we then run through a cleansing operation. The cleansing operation itself allows you to understand the enhancements or the improvements of the data that can be brought to bear. So rather than US, you've got United States, New York, you've got the different states, you've actually got the location in the area, plus you've got the latitude and longitude. Now, that's always, and so in other words, what does that mean in context? In context, I can plot it on a map. So in other words, I can see any of these items, any of these 5,000 items with the geolocational code. I can see all that in front of me. I can analyze it. I can layer it. I can put in demographics. I can put in crime, scores, risks, geopolitical risks, whatever it may be, country, regionally wide. As long as I've got a data point, a geocode, I can do a lot with that data. On the candidate side, now this is accessing data we have. I can look at who is the major, what is the most likely candidate for that particular name and address. Now the name wasn't that right, the address we know was spelled wrong, but my first proposal that the tool came up with is the correct address. So I agreed that that was, shall we say, going to be used, and that's why it's now got a tick on that left-hand side there. And one of my options is to be able to see the enriched data. So I've just done it for a couple, just for the sake of showing you the demonstration. So what's happening now, I'm now expanding the amount of information that I was now given. So remember, I was given a poor name, a misspelled address, and from that poor name and misspelled address, I've been able to not only geolocate it, cleanse the address, I've now been able to also join it up with some more information. So for example, now you can see that the registered name is Merrill Lynch Money Markets, the domestic ultimate owner is Bank of America Corporation, the global is Bank of America Corporation, the line of business, you can see the status, you can see the turnover, you can see the chairman of the board, and you can see other information. So that's just a snapshot of information. We have over 100 dimensions we can bring to bear on this. Running this exercise at this speed, we've got several exercises currently running where we've got circa between 250,000 million names and addresses for customers and suppliers we are being asked to validate, add, geocode, and provide information about. So this is quite a useful addition to the platform, which is, and I think most of you will have found that a lot of your exercises, a lot of your projects will include some sort of geo-related information which you would be of benefit to understand and to be it freight, logistics, movement, retail. They've always got a component of geographic location. So what that's also given us, and is obviously by looking at the global ultimate owner and the domestic ultimate owner, we've been able to now create a hierarchy. So the hierarchy is of a parent and a child relationship. So quite often, many of the data sets we have relationships that are not immediately obvious from the name and address and need to be appreciated in their proper context of large corporations. So that is where you can start to create a very meaningful risk profile classification logic. For example, we've done an exercise with the Russian sanctions where we've allowed our clients to appreciate exposure to companies that have an ownership structure that is majority held by Russian companies that may or may not be part of the sanctions based on the events in the Ukraine. We've also been asked to look at the possibility of developing a map for the impact of Grexit, which is the potential exit of Greece from the Eurozone or the European Union. Again, these are all preventative and these are just for information purposes, but that is exactly the kind of information you can use this for. And the fact that it's automated, related to data cleansing and address cleansing databases, as well as risk profiling databases, means this whole platform can deliver an immense value to our clients. What I've also got, going back to the home screen, which contains various applications, what I've also got is the ability to view data based on, I suppose what you could call it is an automated. Now this is it's to give you the concept. I'm trying to convey an understanding here. What we have is the ability to look at your classification target, and I think in this case we just used UNSBSC as an example. But the purpose of this is I've created, I think it's 52,000 rules that exist for the UNSBSC database, and I've also looked at which information within my source data is best suited to be mapped to that classification. So what I'm doing here, I'm breaking the back of the classification, because quite often it's a very manual exercise, it's quite heavy going, and a lot of it is quite straightforward. So what we've got here is, by looking at the underlying information of textual information of invoices and purchase orders or other item textual items, we can then look to associate that with the target taxonomy and the rules that have been created for the target taxonomy. So this, again, I'm not going to dwell too much on this. This is an engine which allows you to break the back of classification categorization, irrespective of your target taxonomies. It's not only related to UNSBSC. You can do that anywhere you wish for, and it's quite straightforward. Now, the real, as I was showing you in the diagrammatic representation earlier, the real genius within this platform is the ability to write what we call write back. So what I'll just do here is provide you with a little view of how that would work. And so what I'm doing, I'm selecting certain dimensions. I'm going to show all. I'm looking at a category tree, and I can choose multiple currencies, but in this case, we'll just choose GBP for the sake of convenience. And what I'm doing, I'm now running a query which will bring me all of those lines, those particular components of them. Now, the purpose of this is I'm looking to create a rule, because I'm an expert in a particular field, and let's just say I'm an expert in media placement. So I'm looking to try and classify by media placement with invoice detail. So I will go to invoice detail. I will say where it contains media placement and see how many there are there. And the tool will then run around, find out how many there exist, right, quite a few. And I may wish to then add, well, actually, I'm only interested in the ones that are related to this particular supplier. So I'm just simply going to go and add that to my rule. So again, I'm creating an explicit rule, which allows me to dynamically adjust all my data based on certain components that I'm seeing live in the database. So for that to be the case, I'm now seeing that. So I've now selected by invoice detail and by supply description a particular rule. I can then decide that I'm looking for this and I want to classify it to a particular tree. So I can then decide that I'm going to look at editorial information. Let's say it's advertising again, I don't know. And I'm going to say that is the rule I wish to test, and I wish to get approved by my superiors or the people that are currently looking at this. And I wish to assign all, and that will then be moved to that assign all category for someone to actually approve later on. So what I'm doing is saying, yes, I'm going to assign a true to continue, absolutely. And so that will now create that rule. It'll assign it all. There's obviously my rule now that I had contains no more information, so I can now get rid of that, and I can start again. What you'll also find is that there are sometimes characters and scripts that may not be immediately obvious to us, depending on where we're from, and we may wish to understand what those are. So we've incorporated the ability to translate information immediately by the push of a button. Now the choices are from Afrikaans all the way down to, let me see, Zulu and Yoruba. So most people should find their joy within the translation engine. But it tells you, for example, that this particular script, this is a microprocessor. It's from the Beijing Computer Company. So I've got now an idea, more than I had before, of what I'm looking at. So hopefully this has conveyed to you the ability to understand that we can take data from multiple sources, we can integrate it from multiple languages. We're a Unicode, obviously, as you'd expect, data storage capability and processing. So we'll be looking at data from multiple sources. We can those items that we understand, we can classify, and we can start building rules for classification from the raw data without having it to be translated before we see it. So those are the kind of possibilities we can do in the tagging. So what I did there, I simply created a rule which I then probably want to go and understand a little bit better. So I'm now going to go to my audit trail, and this is where the rules themselves are put forward for analysis by a particular person. So as you can see, I was going to assign 64 items to advertising, to a value of £18 million to that particular category tree. Now, what I'm going to do is actually reject that. When I do reject it, the person who sent that query to be submitted is also informed. So what happens here is that a complete audit trail is then put forward, so that you can understand what was approved, what was rejected, why, etc. And it's then also populated here, and the status is then rejected there. So there's also certain other, I won't go into too much detail about the platform itself, but there's also a whole lot of other jobs you can run as an administrator on the platform, which allow you to enhance, index, formulate the data in a much greater way. So what have we looked at so far? We've just looked at the company enrichment one, which is the one you saw with the name and address. We've looked at the item classification, which is the bringing together of all the line items where you're able to create those explicit rules and the feedback mechanism. And you've also seen the tagging audit, which is where another person is able to, I suppose, generate information or approve or reject, which is being put forward. Overall, this is the spend one, as you can see, contract and supplier. You can see this is called spend by. And what this is the data mining exercise. Now, in data mining, the first thing you'll see is the generation of a category tree. Now, this is a fairly straightforward hierarchy, and you can see here, for example, computer services, and the platform itself on the data mining side allows you to select entities at any level, and you can then look at the related information. You can see the report focus is what I'm looking at the moment, and the report focus contains any of the dimensions which you may wish to use. And the related information contains the information that's similarly dimension driven, but related simply to that particular item that I've now got on the descriptive text. So I now get a list of suppliers. And again, if I wanted to, but I won't go through this, I could then simply select one of those suppliers and go back to that same exercise I did before and decide this supplier should not be in this location. I actually want to tag him to another level of classification which I've got, and that will then provide populated tree for me of available items for classification. I then run through that and decide this particular one should be in food tobacco products, and I can then go through that process again of saying, please categorize that accordingly. So there's the whole platform itself has a data mining element which I've shown you. I've run you through how you cleanse name and address, and how you add information to geocoding, and the hierarchical for the parenting and the grouping. There's also the association of a multitude of dimensions. You've seen how to auto-classify and also reclassifying items with the audit trail. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Georgina, who will take you through
So we've just had a question in from the audience. Hugh, how can supply codes be created for an agent as per commodities?
What I'll try and understand by that, a supply code created, a supply code as I understand it, do you mean a supply classification, or do you mean a supply code? For a supply code is part of the inherent underlying data that comes with it. It's part of the reference data. So if you mean how can I classify a supplier?
How can you add suppliers? Perhaps that's the question.
Suppliers are added as part of the, you have several ways of adding suppliers. Suppliers are added at the point of data loading and refresh. So if you have a new supplier or vendor master file or a customer file and you wish to add that, that will be referenced to the transactional data. So you only add suppliers in this case if you have the underlying transactions. So suppliers cannot be added in this particular area unless they have a relevance of being there by a transaction existing for that period in time. If you wish to add a supplier to the name and address file, so for example, if you wish to add a supplier to, and I'll just go to that now, to the address cleansing file, which is a completely different ballgame. Here, what you can do is simply load a file which allows you to I suppose, how would you say, you can simply load a file, and that could be any file, any CSV file, And you could then look at that information, you can then cleanse that information totally outside any transactional data, and you can then look at those that are matched, not matched. You can focus on the matched ones or the not matched ones. You can also look at, where are they geocoded, etc. And this small example here, we just covered the UK, but you get the idea. So you can immediately take a CSV file and do all the good work I showed you earlier and the associations and all the geocoding straight off the bat without having it part of a transactional file. So hopefully that answered your question.
Okay, so moving on to the next parts of the agenda, I'm going to run through how you can create interactive reports. So this is you as a business user, without getting in touch with your IT team, how you can create repeatable reports using some of the concepts that Hugh's been through already. So perhaps let's take the spend by application here, a data mining application. And here I'm looking at spend by category tree. Perhaps I'm the category manager for financial insurance services. So here I can select that. I can filter by that. So I'll take away these date filters, and I'm only interested in the category financial services. There it is. Okay. So not wishing to be bothered by the rest of the data in the platform, because I'm particularly interested in just the transactions available in my category. This is where I can save this query, in fact, as a new app on my home page. And it's just a case of selecting an icon of my choice. So I'll select this one. Here I can also choose to save it for other users in my role. So we can have multiple people in your organization who can log in to look at the same data but save their own views. And here's where, within a particular role, perhaps my group of category managers can all see the same thing. So coming back to my home page here, and we'll be able to see that there it is, my financial services spend. Something else I can do is categorize what I've done with my applications. The reports that I've saved, the queries that I've saved, I can add folders at the top here. These are the ones that have been added already, and here I can just drag this right into this folder. Okay, so something else that we offer as standard as part of our spend offering is what we call the Spend Analysis Enterprise Dashboard. So although I'm going to give an example of savings opportunities from spend now, this of course does apply to any kind of data that's been loaded into the platform, and the key point is that it's only possible because of the level of visibility available with this data. So here I'm going to imagine that I am a category manager in a procurement team, and starting to look for just a few examples of where I can focus my efforts moving forward. I can also say that we've actually got a whole webinar planned for looking at the potential for savings opportunities, which will go into a lot more detail and give a lot more examples here, and that's planned for the 29th of April. Looks like I'm experiencing a little slowness on the network here. Here we go. So here you can see this is just the first page here, and I'm not going to go into any of the details of the dashboard as a whole, but focus on looking for a spend opportunity. So I'm going to come into the spend tab here, and we've conveniently got a report named Missed Opportunity. And I'm straight away going to filter for the category that I am managing and an area where I think I'm going to be able to find some opportunities for savings. So here we go, I'll go for industrial, production and manufacturing services. So these filters apply then across the whole dashboard. So if I was then to go and look at any of the other reports in this dashboard, I'd be setting to the same filter. So what I'm looking at here with this blue and red bar chart is a list of my suppliers along the bottom here within the category that I just selected, and I'm looking for the percentage of transactions, the percentage of invoices that fall under a value of £100. Now that I could raise or reduce as I choose, but here what we're really thinking is that there is an administrative cost involved in raising and paying invoices, and so is there anywhere that I can look to consolidate that? So I come down to my table down here and do a bit of sorting, because I've got rather a lot on here. Okay, so what I'm going to look for is a supplier where I've got a large number of transactions and where a large percentage of those transactions are underneath or worth less than £100. So if I come down here, this is a good one. So if I click on this supplier here, I can see that I've got 287 transactions to a spend value of £92,000. And of those, I've got almost coming up for 50% worth under £100. Now that seems to me like an excellent starting point for can I negotiate with this supplier about some batch pricing or raise a purchase order and group those together to reduce my administrative costs. And then coming back to saving your reports, here I could add this as a bookmark. Which again I could choose to share with other people in my role, but it just means that I can now, rather than going through that drill through process every time, I can jump straight to this report. Similarly, I've got a whole report builder where I can build up reports from scratch. So as long as the data is here, I can build the report. So if I take away that supplier, that filter, perhaps I want to look at my suppliers and accounted invoices. And there we go. And it's just as simple as that. Right. I think those were all the examples down the agenda that we have. So just to recap, Hugh, do you want to run through what we've been through today?
Yes, just before I open it to questions, I just want to make sure you appreciate that behind the scenes, as we discussed earlier, it's really a combination of those 5 areas which we've, shall we say, wrapped up into our cloud platform offering. The ability to integrate, extract data, to cleanse it to a certain level ready for analytics, to then associate it with enriched data, and to then visualize it and provide you both with the data mining view, but also with the view you can see in front of you here, which is the what we like to call the data visualization or the management view of data, which allows people to see their world by using maps or using KPIs and many other areas. So we try to facilitate the understanding of the data, so the and while also allowing it to be very collaborative by allowing people to share screens, share reports, bookmark them, or create new apps. So hopefully the platform, we've been able to convey to you a little bit about the concepts behind what we're trying to achieve, and it really is bringing the complexity of data analytics, not reducing or ignoring the complexity, but by bringing it under control and by, I think, allowing a greater level of analysis than is currently available in most platforms. So I'd now like to open it to questions. And I think I have one already asking me, how effective is the tool if you don't have line item detail from invoices? My organization has commodity codes on POs, for instance. A PO with HP could include printers, laptops, but you can't tell if the spend against the PO is for a printer or a laptop. Depending on the system you're using, certain PO systems do have line item information at the PO level, some don't. So it could just be, your PO could say something along the lines of hardware, and then your invoice, again, depending on your on the processes you follow within accounts payable, your team could potentially just be saying this is invoice for hardware against PO for hardware, and therefore, to be honest, unless you've got something tangible, you're left with Hewlett-Packard providing me with hardware. Now, your GL code may have put it also into IT hardware, so you probably don't have really anywhere to go. I'm not going to pretend to you that I do magic and that I can see and I can understand what was in the box that was delivered to you. All that we can do is improve on the information which is currently available. So you could, for example, categorize that, knowing that it's HP, knowing that it's in that chart of account IT hardware, and there's nothing else that you can do with. In other words, not even the material group, material number, there's no part number, there's no descriptive information anywhere else. You would have to end up at probably level 2, when you could have actually ended up at level 3 or 4 if somebody had added that particular information. So it is an envisioned enhancement tool, but it unfortunately doesn't do that next step, which is, shall we say, getting underlying information which is not present in the data. So if there are any further questions.
Yeah, I've got another one here. Going back to the beginning of the presentation, is the data extraction that you were talking about done on-premise or from within the cloud?
The data extraction of the tool you saw is very much done on-premise. We understand and we're very, again, aware of security, both on our side but also on our client side. And IT security would be quite reluctant to let me run from the cloud an application that would pull data from your production environment without, shall we say, checks and balances. So what we've done with this particular tool, it's a Windows application which is installed on our clients, and they run it. The data is stored locally. They can view the data and understand the data based on a viewer, which allows them to see the line item descriptions and everything else to make sure the data they've extracted is the data they wanted to send to us. Once that's been certified, validated, they know the script is doing what it's meant to do, and then that gets sent to us via SFTP, and then we can start loading that data.
And another similar one here. My data is highly sensitive. So what guarantees can you make regarding data location and segregation?
So on the data, that is a question again, talking about security, which is critical. Being a cloud platform, we're not a, shall we say, a cloud platform that is just using the cloud without knowing where the services are. So we're not blindly using a third-party solution, which means the data could be anywhere in the world. We are quite specific in the fact that the data is located in a particular location. Some clients have EU locations. Some clients have the need for US locations. It could be page attacks, data protection issues. Depending on where you want the data to be stored geographically for your own needs, we can accommodate. And if you need certain level of certification, be it our own ISO or the third-party data centers, shall we say, accreditations, those can be provided as well. We do have on our books companies who work for the government on certain industries which are quite sensitive. We also have law enforcement data, and we work in the US with the Department of Education. So we are aware, we fully understand the sensitivity and the importance we will place on their data, and we provide various solutions to accommodate those needs.
Having looked at spend savings opportunities, so moving back towards the end of the presentation, how can you track those cost savings? So how would you know when you've made cost savings in the future?
Well, there is an application which I think Georgina knows more about than I do, called the Savings Tracker, which a partner of ours has integrated into the Rapid platform. And this is it's quite often a question, procurement, shall we say, acknowledge a certain type of saving, and sometimes have an interesting discussion with finance as to the theory of saving and how you acknowledge that. And we've seen that several times. So we've partnered with a company, Per Augusta, which allows us to incorporate the savings tracker into the platform and link it directly to the data, so you can monitor and project manage your savings, which can be validated by both procurement and finance in a compliant way.
Okay, I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much, everybody, for dialing in and listening. I apologise for the technical issues that we had towards the beginning, but please do get in touch if you've got any follow-up questions.
So we're just going to put up a slide for you with information. Yep, and you can see it here. Who you can send information to. And please don't hesitate. If you've got any questions on security, technology, platform, including why my laptop doesn't like webinars, please don't hesitate to send us those particular questions. And we're very, very keen to hear you. Again, our platform is designed and has been molded by our clients over the years, and it's only been thanks